I think you still feel that sweet taste after the previous lecture, and I think Mr. Jordan really made everyone's day with those donuts, and really he is such a sweet person himself, and when he provides something like that, then we feel he's even sweeter than that. So, but anyway, my lecture maybe will not going to be so sweet. But you always have to alternate something sweet and then maybe something very academic, yeah? And we're going to talk about something that really bothers every educator and really something that brings so many ideas to my head. You know, I've been working in this school for so many years, and the issues of quality of education have been in my mind for all those years. Now we actually came to some point in the development of our school when we can share what we've achieved and what our ideas and what we share as administration. So first of all, I would like to give you some facts. Of course, it would take the whole day to give you a brief overview of economics, social life, ecology, and politics and education. Yeah? So we will just touch base about something which will make us understand why education is so important. You know, and as all of you know, education is power, yeah, and knowledge is power. So, and we believe that education brings us knowledge, yeah. And then the question is how we can apply that knowledge and what are we supposed to do with that knowledge and how much knowledge we need and what kind of knowledge and how much knowledge, you know. So all of those questions maybe raise up in everyone's head. So first of all, I wanted to show you that really what's going on in the modern world is not so pleasing and not so sweet, yeah, as we may think. And there are so many countries where people live very miserable lives. And for example, do you know how many people actually live on the continent of Asia? Actually, 60% of the whole Earth population lives in Asia, yeah? So which means there are billions of people, and billions of people cannot live on the same quality level, yeah? So and there are a lot of poor people. And then not everyone can afford education, and people even cannot sign their names. And I've not been to a lot of Asian countries, but when you go there, then you will definitely notice that we here in Russia live a very good life, I can tell you. And also, speaking about the money spent on military needs, we can say that this is an enormous amount of money, and if we had a chance to use them on different purposes, then maybe there won't be any illiterate people in the world anymore. And also you can notice the growth of world's corporations, and they acquire and gain more and more wealth, and that's why some people become more rich and some people become more poor. Yeah? But what really bothers us as educators, this is the condition in which some children of the world, and especially in some developing countries, and the number of those homeless and orphans, homeless children really grows every year. And you can imagine, for example, what's going on in Syria, and in all those places where different wars take place. And I can also give you some statistics that nowadays in the world there are 36 wars where 28 countries are involved, yeah? So, and we never actually think about it, and we have to be thankful for this peace that we have on our land, and we have to pray for it all the time. But why I'm giving you all these facts? Because I want you to know that education is not available everywhere. And if it's not available, even education itself, then we cannot even say anything about the quality of education. So if people do not get anything, so how can we assess the quality of those services which they get, since they do not get any educational services, basically. So and now we are moving to education. And I want to show you, this is a very interesting photo which I took in Georgia. You know, there was our partner school, School of Tomorrow, and it's been working there for practically as many years as our school has been in operation. And can you imagine, unfortunately, this school even does not exist anymore, because probably you remember 2 years ago there was a big flood in Tbilisi, and the school was located exactly in the park, which was affected by the flood, and there was a zoo, and you know, even all the animals in the zoo were killed, and the school was just flooded, and it stopped existing. And why I know that school very well, because we were there on the purposes of quality assurance, and I will tell you later. But you know, those people, they really keep being optimistic, and they were offered some temporary facility where they educate somehow their students, and they're still having a dream of getting a bigger facility. So, but speaking about education one more time, I want to tell you that education now is developing in the direction of educating global citizens, yeah? Because everyone is dreaming of going somewhere, yeah? And if I ask you, for example, students who you educate, who you teach, do all of them dream to stay here, or they dream to go study abroad, or live abroad, or maybe marry someone foreign and leave this country, or maybe they're dreaming about traveling, yeah? So that's why we're talking about global education, or educating global citizens. And another very interesting piece of information has to do with number of graduates, yeah? There is such an organization which is called Organization of Economic and Cooperative Development, and they really try to foresee or predict how many graduates we're going to get. And what they're saying, by next year, let's say, there will be this many school graduates from different countries, yeah? And then, if this huge number of graduates leave schools, yeah, then we expect that those people will be decent people, yeah? And they will be prepared to live with us, they will be on a certain level of development, and we will expect that they have or acquired a certain amount of knowledge, and they will be decent members of the society. And then, you know, maybe not of those school graduates will go to colleges or universities. So that's why the number of graduates from the colleges is lower, yeah, than from the schools. But still, it's a lot. From China, of course, the most. And in the European Union, 2.1 million graduates from colleges, yeah? So, and all those people will be looking for employment. Most of you maybe do not think as administrators, yeah? And most of you do not really think of quality of the graduates who are coming to work at school. But from the position of administrators and those and other employers, we always look for the best, yeah? So we want the best graduates, we want someone who really got quality education. And now we will be talking about that quality, yeah? So what we understand under the quality of education. Again, if you talk to our parents, if you talk to different educators, there may be two different positions. And some people will try to protect that stand that the public or governmental school provides the best education. And you remember those stories about Russian education or Soviet Union education being the best in the world, yeah? And the graduates of the schools in the Soviet Union were of the highest qualification, of the knowledge of highest quality. But now the tendency has changed, and all parents who can afford, they do not want to send their children to public schools. They all want them to be in private schools where more attention will be given to their child. And there is a trend now that some people even compare public education and private education, yeah? Then we even now try to ask every parent who is coming here why do you want to enroll your child to a private school? And I can tell you there are three main answers to that question. So first of all, they say that I want my child to be in a safe environment. Second, they say, I want my child to be healthy physically and psychologically. Yeah? And well, I want my child to get quality education. But I want to draw attention to the fact that quality education is not number one. It's usually on the third place. Only for some parents, they really believe that the quality education is of prime importance. Yeah? And here I want to show you that there are some really different approaches to understanding of governmental and private schools. Yeah? For example, private schools, they practice process of accreditation. While in a lot of countries, schools do not go through accreditation process, they only go through licensing. And then licensing, basically, you know what is licensing all about. It's a verification that you have good enough conditions where you can organize educational process. Yeah? Then, voluntary versus mandatory. In Russia, for example, if you want to be able to issue a document after a student graduates from the school, you need to be in an accredited school, yeah? And it's mandatory. But international accreditation, which we'll be talking about later, it's voluntary. So you don't need to go through accreditation if you don't feel like you need it. Yeah? So if you don't need it, don't go through it. Then, peer versus official hierarchy. Those of you who worked in the public schools, you know that sometimes people who come to inspect, they may really behave in a very, I would say, demanding way. And I remember we had one inspection and the ladies came and they said, oh, bring me this document, bring me this, bring me that, so run around. So all of us were running around, bringing those files, bringing documents. And they were not friendly at all, yeah? And then there was another lady from the public school, and she came, and I think deep in her heart she hated the whole system of private education. So she came to our school and she was trying to find every minor little itty-bitty thing where we were doing wrong. So she spent here like 5 hours, you know, and it was in summertime. She was all sweating, you know, she was running around our school. She was saying, oh, your gym is not good, this is not good. You cannot use pins decorating your built-in boards. You cannot have plants there. You cannot have furniture which is not attached to the walls, yeah? You know, I felt sorry for that lady because, you know, she was very tired, she was sweating, but she really wanted to express her opinion about public school. Okay, so she expressed her opinion. We were very happy when she left. And then after she left, we had to really fix all those minor things that she found, which to her opinion were not correct here. And then, you know, what is also important, that international accreditation gives a qualitative analysis of the operation of the school, while, as I mentioned, mandatory accreditation, it's quantitative. So that lady who was really against private education, she was eager to find 100, you know, things which were done wrong here. So it was quantitative, to my opinion. Yeah? And so we really, in our school, we've always tried to establish some high international standards. Yeah? So and when we see someone who is acting, having no idea about best international practices, we really feel that we need to spread this news, you know, about the different methods of quality assurance. So, and the whole idea about international accreditation, this is the idea of transformation of education, you know, the idea of making education available and necessary for every child, yeah? And these are the main ideas behind the accreditation. So first of all, we want to raise quality, then we want to have plans for continuous improvement, and we want to have to develop educational services, basically, yeah? Now, speaking about international accreditation, I can tell you that this is a relatively young process, yeah? And you can see on this slide that in different countries there is different level of interest to this process, yeah? For example, in the United States of America, there are several different kinds of accrediting agencies. They may be on a state level, they may be regional, trans-regional, national, and international, yeah? And then, in some other countries, for example, like in Middle East, yeah, and I will tell you about Middle East a bit later. So a lot of countries, you know, they've been developing under the category of being developing countries, yeah? And now they live a very good lifestyle because they have oil, they've got a lot of money, yeah? So now they basically covered their basic needs, and now they're thinking about education, yeah? And they want to use the best practices. Now, about educating global citizens. As you know, in our school we really have a privilege of educating global citizens. And we need to have a very clear understanding of this international education, yeah? And I'm sure that a lot of you in this audience, you understand why you need the School of Tomorrow in your school. For example, any ideas? Why do you like School of Tomorrow? Why do you need it at your school? Who can say something? Please.
For us, School of Tomorrow is something absolutely new, something totally against the system of education in the country. And that's why it's like a new, fresh, maybe way of educating, and it helps us work every day with being full of energy and motivated.
Oh, very good. Any other idea? Why do you think you need School of Tomorrow in your school? I can share my experience. In one of the schools we have constant discussions, you know. They're putting me in a situation where I need to convince them every time that they need School of Tomorrow. And they're saying, you know, this is different from Russian system, this is this and that, and why do we need to spend so many hours, why? You see, I'm telling to them every time, you know, Russian system of education is a very good system in itself. If you are after the Russian system of education, you don't need anything else, you know, and even if your child only studies Russian program, he will get a good education, yeah? So, and there is no objection to that. And then every time we start a discussion and say, you know, if you want to have any other idea about international education, then you use School of Tomorrow. If you only want Russian education, then you don't need any School of Tomorrow. You don't need to be in the situation of comparing Russian program and School of Tomorrow program, because they may not be compared actually. So, and again, every time they're saying, oh, this program doesn't cover this from the Russian program, they do not correspond, the requirement is different, and so on. Yeah? So, we've been doing that discussion for the last 5 years. They haven't dropped the program yet, but every day when they see me, they want to get more proof and more facts how good School of Tomorrow program is, you know. I am trying to be very persuasive, and they use all the words of my vocabulary that I know to convince and say something different every time when I meet them. Yeah? So, and I hope it helps a little. So, about, as our colleague mentioned, the School of Tomorrow program is something new, yeah? In fact, it's not very new. It's only 50 years because it was founded in 1970, yeah? But at that time, and I can share with you my ideas when I came to work to the school after the Soviet Union school, and I saw this class, you know, with many offices and even children of different ages sitting in the same class. First, my perception was negative because I thought it was a village school, you know. You came to the school wearing the same class, like, you know, in Russian we call it малокомплектная школа, where everyone sits in the same class, different grades. So I thought, what kind of international education it is? So where everyone sits in the same class, and we're supposed to teach children of different levels. Then, you know, with the time being, my perception changed, and in the beginning I was for academic excellence, and I thought that quality of education is basically about academic excellence. You are supposed to be very well educated, you have to have so much information in your head and so on. Then the more time I was spending here, the more I began to understand that it's not about the amount of information in your head, yeah? It's about something else. Now I'm in a different position, which I will share later. So, and it's actually about character training, yeah, and principles that develop nation and people. Again, we can go into a very deep discussion about that. Do we like people of our nation, yeah? So, for example, it's been so funny to me all the time when you go somewhere to the seaside and you say, oh, I've been to the hotel where there are no Russians. So, and then it makes you feel happy if there were no Russians. And then the question is, why don't you want to be around Russians in those hotels? Did anyone have the same idea? So, who can share? Why don't you want to be surrounded by Russians when you go to have your vacation to the seaside? Any ideas?
Because of their behavior.
You know, because I think you expect something not very good from Russians. And I can tell you what you expect. You expect maybe some bad attitude or bad treatment, yeah? And you expect that maybe Russians will be doing something that you will feel shameful for, yeah? Then, the question is, what are we doing wrong to each other, to our children, and to adults, that we are acting somehow in a wrong way in different places? Then, another example, if someone moves to live to another country, yeah? For example, someone immigrated to the US, then they become really decent US citizens, yeah? They follow all the laws, they pay all the fees, they try not to break the law and so on. And they try to maintain clean environment, they do not throw papers in the street. But when they're here, they do it. So the question is, what makes them act different in different environments? Yeah? Or maybe the environment makes you feel or act in a different way. Yeah? So if you come out and you see that it's not clean outside, then it's not bad to throw something at and add to the dirtiness. Yeah? If you come to another place where it's clean, so you feel, oh, it's clean, I'm supposed to maintain that clean environment. So, it's about character and training, and this is where I stand now, that this is the main and most important value of education. What kind of people we raise, yeah? What kind of nations we prepare. And the general trend, you know, in the whole world is the expansion of schools for expatriates and the interest to international schools. Yeah? And basically every school where you have students from different countries may be called an international school. Yeah? You do not have this word in your name that this is an international school, but you may be considered an international because you educate children from different nations. Yeah? So that's why you're an international. And is there anyone who is just about to open new school of tomorrow? So everyone is aware of the program already. So, okay, very nice. So then, I think you will not object that those universal goals in education, they're all met in the School of Tomorrow program. So, because we develop moral principles, yeah? we develop their mental abilities. We also have all physical activities in our schedules, and we really help our students develop their social activities and social skills because we help them build a good character. Yeah? So, and if you are a person of a good character, then you can easily socialize with other people. So, About accountability of education. Actually, since we want better people and better nation and better everything, yeah, we want better education, yeah, and we want everyone to have a clear understanding. What do we mean by education? Do we give them knowledge? Do we help them form their character? Do we want them to build some principles, you know? And we really want to see those people to whom we can trust, yeah? So trust is a very important word. And now we are moving to this actual topic of our presentation about the trust, yeah, public trust. And the accreditation is all about public trust. But it's not, even in our country, you know, if you're an accredited school and you give out a distat, it means that the society can trust your school and you really do something which helps students get that document on their education, yeah? And when we mean the word trust, this is actually a very important word, yeah? So we mean integrity, we mean accountability, honesty, and if you trust someone, it means that person is a really developed person, yeah? Because this is really one of the characteristics of developed people. About accreditation, how the society can really develop this trust. Of course, you need to apply, then you become a candidate, and you go through that accreditation process. For your information, I want to show you that at the moment we work with 3 accrediting agencies. The main one is Accreditation International, and it's under NCPSA, National Council for Private Schools Accreditation. And we also have co-accreditation with MSA, Middle States Association of Colleges and Schools. And if you open the website of State Department of the United States, you will see that this MSA agency is present there, and originally it started as an agency working with universities, yeah? Then, when your school gets the international accreditation, you go into a special international register of the accredited schools, yeah? And I can show you, this is the page where you can see our school being mentioned. Together with the school from Tanzania, Italy, Burkina Faso, France. So there are more than 30,000 schools in this register, and actually any school can apply. Then, speaking about accreditation, some people may ask, oh, they want to impose some American standards and they want us to meet American requirements, so we don't want that. We want to be a really unique school, so we don't want to go through that process. But I can tell you that this process is all about diversity, and we really expect to see every school being creative and individual. And I can show you, for example, the schools that we've accredited recently. For example, was one school in Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates, and this is a really huge modern school worth of $80 billion investment. You know, we do not, I can tell you, we do not have schools like that in the whole Russia. No way we can have such a school, because we do not have so much money to invest 80 million. And you know, Sheikh Zayed Private Academy. Sheikh Zayed, if you also know, this is a father of the United Arab Emirate nation, yeah? So, and everything very important is named in his name there. So, and we've been working there as a team, and I can tell you that this school, even though it's in the United Arab Emirates, is using American curriculum, Massachusetts curriculum. Yeah? So they're facing the same problem. They have already 800 students there. Practically no one can speak good English, so they're overcoming that difficulty. They develop a lot of different ways how to do it. Then, maybe tomorrow we'll speak more about it. Even though we want every school to be individual, it's all about uniformity, because the school is supposed to meet certain standards, not supposed to operate according to the same standard. It's supposed to meet certain standard in quality, and it's supposed to be predictable in its operation. And to tell you the truth, those standards, the first standards for school operation, appeared a long time ago in 1902. And you can see that those standards, whoever developed those standards, they tried to cover all the areas of school operation. And now to compare, I can show you the list of today's standards which are offered by Accreditation International. Yeah? And you know, okay, a lot of standards which cover again all areas of school operation. Then, how the accreditation process goes. First you go through those standards and then you do self-study. And I can share a secret with you that our school is in the process of self-study now. And absolutely every staff member is involved. And I would like to offer you some practical activity now, so that you would have an idea how to work with international accreditation, you know. As I've mentioned, there are 12 standards, yeah? And now I want you to try to evaluate the operation of your school, let's say, according to the requirements to standard number 11, student's life. So I will give you some material on your desk, and you will need to mark how your school meets those quality indicators. There are several: exemplary, effective, emergent, absent, or not applicable. Yeah? And that's why for this lecture I asked you, if you are from the same school, sit together, so that you would really think together about what is going on in your school. And it's not a long or big activity, just one page. Okay? One school, yeah? How many schools? So you just need to mark how you think this particular standard is met in your school. How many schools? No one speaks English? Okay, one school.
Cooperation and self-direction.
So you just read the quality indicator and then think how is it presented in your school? To which level? So exemplary, effective, emergent, or absent? For example, exemplary, it means it cannot be done any better, you know? So you came to the point of perfection. If it's effective, it means it's operating, but still something can be done. Or, for example, emergent, it means that you just begin thinking about it, and it's not there yet. But you start doing something, yeah? Something very simple is present. Absent, it means you don't have it and you've never thought about it. Or, not applicable, it means if you are not a school, let's say, and you do not have anything to do with student life or student activities. There are only 6 questions that you need, or 6 indicators which you need to consider.
и обеспечивают завтрашнее внедрение научных
I think there's definitely a lot of students, there's like honorable things are like
Okay, I hope you're able to mark those indicators. And then, the next assignment will be to really write the school's response about each of those quality indicators. So, which means if you have an indicator asking,
взаимоотношения между работниками и учениками,
so for example, if you have a quality education asking, students are offered opportunities to build their skills in handling responsibility, taking initiative, leadership, competencies, cooperation, and self-direction. Yeah? So you need to write a couple of sentences explaining what are really those opportunities that students have to build their skills in those areas. No, we are going to discuss it. What I want to draw your attention to, that you see, you begin to think about something, and maybe you've never ever thought about those things ever in the operation of your school. Yeah? So, and that's why this self-study is so important and so interesting. If you want your school to go to a new height, if you want to reach those new heights, yeah, you need to start doing something different. You need to raise the quality in all areas of school operation. And sometimes, as Mr. Jordan was saying, you do not know which way to go, where to put that step. And these standards and quality indicators, they were developed by the best educators from different countries of the world, you know. And they've been in education for so many years. And that's why those quality indicators and standards, they're unified, they're applicable to any school in any country of the world. Yeah? And this is the easiest, I would say. Only 6 quality indicators, only 6 questions which you may consider. Yeah? But there are 12 standards, and in some of those standards, there are more than 30 quality indicators. And if your school is interested to go through this process, we are always at your disposal. We can help you, we can explain you what to do and how you can go through the process. But anyway, since the time of my lecture is over, what I want to offer, that you continue working on it at home, okay? And then we'll discuss it during my lecture tomorrow. And another thing what I want to give you, this is something very interesting. This is your homework. So what is going to be very interesting? After you decide on which level every quality indicator is present in your school, then you need to think further. Then you need to decide what is really good in that area in your school. And this is called major commendations. Commendation, this is something good, you know, which really you can be proud of. And then also, there are major recommendations. There is something where you need improvement, and you need to define those areas of improvement. And then the third thing, which I even didn't put here, it's intervention. So what you are going to do to really have those recommendations fulfilled or improvements done. And this is a good chance for all of us who is not from the administration, you know, think that we're not supposed to criticize our administration. We need to think what can be done, and we need to be constructive and positive, yeah? So this will be another part of your homework, just something for discussion. So major commendations, something to be proud of. Major recommendations, so something, areas of improvement. And then interventions, what can be done to really have those recommendations be fulfilled. Okay? So again, I'm giving you one paper for each school or whoever was working on it. And then tomorrow you will be sitting in the same groups, and then we'll discuss. Okay?